Welcome to the Game Informer Show. Yep, that's how we're starting this week, baby. A weekly video game show, podcast, whatever you call it, releasing every Thursday. I am your host, Alex Stadnick, and as always, I am honored to be joined by the illustrious Alex Van Aken. Hello, sir.
Hey, didn't realize I was going to get some casual scatting on this episode, but I'm here for it, to kind of set I'm feeling, the internal rhythm that's linking all of us together.
Ooh,
The song of nature that runs through us all. Skidoo bop, beep de boop bop.
Oh my gosh, if I walked out in nature and heard that song, I'd run.
You're on a trail in the middle of nowhere and you just hear
no, this is not what should be here.
Speaks to me.
The birds are back from their hibernation.
Nature is healing.
Join us each week alongside a rotating crew of GI editors and special guests from around the industry as we bring you the latest news, reviews, and big man swag your eyes and ears can handle. This week, kind of getting back to normal a little bit. Last couple weeks have been a roller coaster, to say the least. Alex and I were out of office last week. The week before, certain Dan Tack said his goodbyes, and it was episode 600. Never heard of him. So I don't know. It's been a wild couple of weeks, but now we're kind of getting back to some normalcy here. And we're going to be talking about some big news, including some Square Enix acquisition news, a couple of game reviews that you may want to check out from a certain guest that we'll introduce in a second, and getting back to the playlist and hearing cars honk in the background. So first, Jill Grote, the Imperator of Indies. Hello,
Yep.
How are you?
Hello. It's a lovely day to be here when it's no rules. It's just the three of us, so we're going wild. We're making up songs. We're doing craziness.
We're gonna start dancing. It's gonna be great. I can't wait.
We wouldn't be scatting if there was 4 people on this podcast. I'll tell you
you
that.
can't do it. It's in the Game Informer rules. You can't do it.
It's in the style
Scatting
guide.
3 parties or less.
Yes.
They don't want us to have a good time. That's the problem, right? We gotta make our own
They can't
fun.
stop us, Alex's.
Yes, correct. So Jill, I'm excited because you are living up to your moniker, and you do have a couple indie reviews that I think we're excited about. One, not as much the other, correct?
This is correct, and you'll have to wait to find out which is which.
That'll come later in the show. But first, Alex Van Aken, I think you broke some news, right? You're buying up some studios and stuff. What's going on?
Yeah. My sources in the deep, dark, shady shadows of the internet have given me some exclusive details that nobody else has heard about yet. No, I'm kidding. We got some news this week written up by Wesley LeBlanc. Square Enix sells Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and more, including Tomb Raider IP to Embracer Group. Getting into the story, which you can find at GameInformer.com/news. Embracer Group has entered into an agreement to acquire Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal from Square Enix, alongside a catalog of intellectual properties that includes Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and more than 50 others too. Embracer Group is paying $300 million for these studios and associated IPs, and it's doing it on a, quote, cash and debt-free basis to be paid in full at closing, end quote, according to the company. In total, this acquisition will result in roughly 1,100 employees from these 3 studios across 8 locations around the world becoming Embracer Group employees. This purchase is expected to close during the second year of Embracer's 2022 to 23 financial year, or in other words, sometime between July and September of this year. Quote, we are thrilled to welcome these studios into the Embracer Group. Embracer Group co-founder and group CEO Lars Wingfors writes in a release, we recognize the fantastic IP, world-class creative talent, and track record of excellence that has been demonstrated time and again over the past decades. It has been a great pleasure meeting with leadership teams and discussing future plans for how they can realize their ambitions and become a great part of Embracer. Square Enix America and Europe CEO Phil Rogers writes in the release that Embracer is the best kept secret in gaming, and that it's a, quote, massive, decentralized collection of entrepreneurs whom we are thrilled to become part of today. He calls Embracer Group the perfect fit for Square Enix America and Europe's ambitions, which is to quote, make high quality games with great people sustainably and grow our existing franchises to their best versions. Almost done here. Do you want to jump in, Jill, or should I keep
No, I was
going?
just like, I was strawing for you. Grow.
Yes,
There you go.
jazz
Yeah.
hands for this big acquisition. Um, what else? Since Embracer is not acquiring not just Crystal Dynamics, but the Tomb Raider IP as well, it sounds like and this is Wes editorializing, sounds like the next Tomb Raider game, which was announced just a few weeks ago as a title that will be developed completely in Unreal Engine 5, will be an Embracer title. As for why Square Enix decided to sell these studios to begin with, which includes the studios behind Marvel's Avengers and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Square Enix cites, quote, adapting to the changes underway in the global business environment and the rise of blockchain technology, cloud gaming, and AI, and its own investment in each.
Guys, yes, more blockchain gets me so amped. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. I love blockchain.
Put those
The
chains
best.
on that block.
Yeah.
So we could keep going. There are lots of paragraphs that we could keep reading from, but I'm going to encourage people to go read the full article, gameinformer.com/20. God, gameinformer.com/news. Not 2022. If you want the new releases, that's
Go there.
/2022. But Jill, you did a deep dive into this on your personal time. What's going on here? Give us the summation if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, I'm going to start off by saying that I ended up down a rabbit hole, and it stopped for me at MythForce, which is one of the games that I am currently like having a lot of fun with.
Yeah.
So getting from Square Enix to MythForce was an exciting adventure. But I'll go ahead and just start kind of at the top here. Embracer Group is going wild, right?
Yeah.
Like, this has been like, as far as I can tell, it's not a huge thing. I think they said something like the best kept secret, which is weird because it is buying up so many things, and it keeps doing it. So it should be something that's on our radar as being a big force, but for
Yeah,
some
it's
reason
almost like
kind
a
of isn't.
conglomerate, right? Like they've
Yeah.
got THQ Nordic,
hmm
Koch Media, Coffee Stain,
Yeah.
Saber Interactive,
Saber Interactive,
Gearbox.
Gearbox. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
And on the comic side, Dark Horse Comics or
Yeah.
Dark Horse Media. So,
So, yeah,
yeah.
they're doing a lot of wild things, and they have a lot of really strange mixes of things under their umbrella that you wouldn't really think. And now with their Crystal Dynamics and like Tomb Raider, that's just that's a very high level, because a lot of these other ones are sort of in the AA space, and
Mhm.
now we're starting to see them get more and more. They're collecting A's essentially,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and so one of the things that they have under their umbrella is Aspire, and Aspire just acquired Beamdog,
Okay.
who they were helping to publish MythForce. So now
Full circle. We love
they're
it.
all in the same family. It's wild.
Give me Smash Bros with Laura Croft and the people in MythForce, right, Joe?
Yes, absolutely. Hawkins, all the way. But I am like, this is acquisitions are in the air, so I'm sort of not surprised to hear this kind of news. I am sort of surprised that they're dumping Tomb Raider, especially as it just got that new kind of reboot Unreal 5
Yeah.
announcement. Like that just happened. So selling that off with everyone being excited about the new game that's coming up, I wonder what that does. Did the developers sort of know about what was happening when they started this? Is that going to mess with development for this game? Also, 300 million it seems low. Like
It
obviously
seems
that's a
very
huge
low.
number, but that seems like a very small number for like the entire Tomb Raider IP. Crystal Dynamics maybe has had some bumps along the way, but certainly a name that people tune in to see for like conferences because we're coming up to E3 season.
Yeah.
And
I
it's just
mean,
wild.
the reboot trilogy by itself, so what, the 2013 release up till now,
Hmm.
has sold 38 million units.
And
That's
Lifetime,
not
the
good.
series
Do
has
the math
sold.
for yourself. What?
Yeah.
Like,
Right, right.
Yeah.
they're getting this at a steal.
Hmm.
Obviously there are more. You got overhead costs. I mean, there's so many costs involved, but like just doing simple math, 38 million. I said right
Hmm.
times
Yeah.
what? Let's say
60.
I mean, 60 is full price. Let's say $40 because some people maybe buy. I don't know how they do all that, but there's
Mhm.
discounts and stuff. That's a lot of money. That's
A lot of money, official.
1.5 billion. Am I doing that math right?
Like none of us got into this career because we were good at math.
Well, I did
Yeah.
go to business school, so I should be able to
Mm.
do this. Okay, 38 million copies. I got my calculator right this time.
There you go.
Times $40.
Hmm.
Yeah, 1.5 billion in revenue for that, and since
For
2013
just
alone.
for just
Obviously,
that
like
one.
very rough number.
Yeah.
Probably not accurate at all.
At all.
But
Don't quote us anywhere. Don't write
even
that
half
in
of that,
news.
even
Yeah.
half of that is more revenue than they've sold this entire
IP and company and
catalog.
multiple
Yeah.
companies, developers. Like, what is going on that
I,
was the decision they made?
I feel like
I'm
this is like in elementary school when I like gave my friend like my very rare Yu-Gi-Oh card in exchange for like a Dark Magician because I thought like, oh, I've heard of Dark Magician. It's a good card. And then I trade him my $100 card and I get like this $2 card and I'm none the wiser. Like it seems like so, I don't know. I'm not a business guy, but it seems very silly, especially in the gaming space as of late when we've seen all of these huge like billion-dollar acquisitions in the last year, like
Yeah.
Microsoft being responsible for a lot of those. It just, yeah. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Mm. I like the Yu-Gi-Oh comp, but instead of you getting Dark Magician, it's like Pot of Greed or something like that
Yeah.
because you're now investing in blockchain games.
Yeah.
The number was staggering. I thought someone made a mistake and there was a zero missing. This feels like a steal, and I don't know what else Square has up its sleeves, right? Because there's been rumors going around, right? We don't report personally on rumors, but you see them on the timeline, right? Of like, is Sony and Square talking, right, for more of their Japanese properties? Like, where is this going? I think this is a constant. I'm not a business guy either, but like Square has a trend of undervaluing, especially its Western properties, right? I feel like every other week we would get a story about how Avengers undersold, which it probably did, right? But like Tomb Raider undersold from their expectations, right? Outriders undersold, right? But like, People Can Fly are putting out an expansion for Outriders, so there obviously is still some traction there. And I know the Game Pass numbers they reported were good. We don't know exactly what they are, right? So, and to your point too, it's like 38 million. The series has only ever sold 88, so almost half of those sales are from the Crystal Dynamics games. And Jill, I think you've been on this show and talked about how off the rails the last one got, but I don't think anyone is not excited for the next one, right? Because Crystal
Mhm.
Dynamics has talented people. Like they can make great games, and I think I'm more excited for this one because I can't imagine they're going to be forced to make this as a games of service, right? And I do feel like, because I think a lot of people look at these deals as like happening in real time, when in actuality, no, these deals have been going on for quite some time. This amount of money and IP getting shared is not something that just happened. Embracer didn't watch the Unreal stream and go, wow, Tomb Raider in Unreal? Let's just buy them up. This has been happening for a while. So, maybe Embracer did put them on that, or like encourage them to say that they're working on it to make this deal look even better, right? We don't know what went on behind the scenes, but it feels like the final like period on a relationship that never fully took form. I feel like with Square and these studios, and there's some really great talent at these places, and I hope Embracer uses them in the right way and gives them the financial freedom to really create and not put those extra levels of like, oh, this needs to be our games of service, right? This needs to be always online, like that kind of stuff. So I'm hopeful for the devs over there and stuff like that. And I think this also means that Tomb Raider's in a great place. Like we keep saying it, right? But we saw it recently, or they announced what's coming next, right? Obviously, there is a group of people who believe in Lara Croft as a gaming icon even today, right? And if you inject a little more freedom into that development space, I'm excited to see where that goes. I don't think that game comes out until like 2026, right? It's going to be a minute. So, I think the other exciting thing, right, is I am not one of them. I don't know why this game has eluded me. There's a lot of people excited about the possibility of Deus Ex coming back. Yeah, yeah, brother. A popular franchise. I don't know sales numbers how it did, but I know a lot of people love that franchise. And it felt like it was just languishing when Square was wanting to shift more into the Marvel scene, right? So I think this is exciting for them as well. I don't know, are either of you guys Deus Ex fans?
Not particularly, but I'm with you that group of fans tends to be dedicated and really excited about any kind of hint of news. So yeah, this could be really exciting.
Right. And that's another one we won't see for another 8 years, 10 years, right? Because this group just got these assets. Like, what are they going to do with them? But at least the potential is there now, where I feel like a lot of people didn't feel that way when it was under Square. So Alex, are you just excited for the future?
Yeah, I'm excited I don't think we're gonna get a new Thief game.
Forget about Thief, right? Yeah.
I mean, Thief is kind of iconic and for a lot of people. Same with Deus Ex. Deus Ex has always eluded me, even though I think if I had played them, they probably would be among, my favorite games, just based on my tastes.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm very excited for a new Deus Ex game if that were to come to fruition.
Do you think that this news is too close to E3 season that we can expect some sort of interesting announcements there?
Huh.
That's a good question, because now we're getting to, I feel like the big pubs have kind of learned, right? And it's more about the games. So it's like, that's news I feel like you get out ahead of time. But this is Wild West now. And I feel like it's literally like any Monday, almost every time I wake up on Monday, I'm like, okay, who's getting bought up next? And, I think this is interesting too, because we just saw the sale of Activision for billions, right? Versus this, 300 million is paltry compared to, even some of the mobile games like Zynga, right? Or no. Yeah, it was Zynga that Take-Two bought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was in the billions as well. So it's like, I'm curious, the evaluations seem all over the board here. And I know Tomb Raider is not Call of Duty, but like that seems like a low ball, especially like if they wanted to go like keep doing the movies, right? I know that last Tomb Raider movie didn't do super well, but like, there is franchise here. And so I feel like Embracer really got that as a steal. But yeah, I think definitely we could hear by the end of the month another acquisition or two. And that's on no knowledge, right? It feels like the acquisition wars are just heating up right now. So, which I don't love, but is what it is. VA, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to E3, or not E3,
Probably
whatever.
E3 season now.
Summer Games
E3
Fest.
season.
I think I'll always just refer to it as E3, but
yeah, right.
Yeah.
By the side tangent, did some conferences get announced while I was out of town?
So
yeah, the
couple
Xbox
weeks ago.
Bethesda
Yep.
big
Okay.
is the big one.
Okay. When was that? Was it June?
June
I want to say
12th.
June 12th.
Yep.
Okay. Good to know. Gotta add that to my calendar.
Yeah.
No, but I don't think we see anything from this acquisition. Maybe something from Embracer, just like a hype, like a reel, saying like this is now part of the Embracer family. Stay tuned for exciting announcements in the future. I don't think that we see anything like really tangible from this.
Right. But you don't think that? Do you think Embracer would have its own conference?
Not this year.
In the future, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, if they keep these acquisitions going and keep picking up these.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're slowing down anytime soon.
No, yeah. I mean, especially if they keep getting these steals. They're like, why would we? Um, I don't think we see anything this year, but I think we start to see them crop up more and more.
Do y'all think Square is done selling? I mean, at some point they have to have IP left, right? Unless they're trying to get out of games, which would be a wild thing. Like
Wild.
I heavily doubt that, right? They announced Kingdom Hearts 4 that's coming in 10 years. We know they want to make games for the next 10 years, you know. I guess I can't imagine, because like Square has such a legacy on Nintendo too. I can't imagine those games just being on PlayStation anymore, right? But you know, I guess I've said that about other properties like Call of Duty. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that they're planning on getting out of the game. I think this might be more about refocusing and sort of narrowing down what their vision is and what their mission is and what they're interested in. Um, and I guess that just wasn't, Tomb Raider or a lot of their kind of Western studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a bummer. Because Eidos Montreal did both Deus Ex and Guardians, right?
Yeah, just did.
Guardians was really good. Like that team's got some writing chops over there. Like, oh, I'm excited. Like I said, I hope they're at a studio that values them now. So
Yeah,
in a proper way. But
wild stuff.
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
300 million, man. I've been watching Selling Sunset. I'm pretty sure I've seen houses listed on that show more than 300 million.
What would you do with even like 1% of that, Alex?
Man, so much. I'd go on vacation.
There you go.
Pay off my student loans, my debt. I'd buy a quaint little house, maybe like $1 million house, something, small.
Yeah.
Fixer upper.
Well, in California, that could be the case.
Yeah. I literally saw a $600,000 or $500,000 house listing in LA the other day on Twitter.
I am astonished that is a sentence that you can even.
Well,
say
no, and it was literally like moldy walls. Like
Mhm.
it was, the inside of the house was black. Like it was just like falling apart. And it's like, damn, that was 500,000, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know what I would do with that much money. I can't even comprehend it. So best not to think about it, Alex. I'd buy a lot of video games.
I would just disappear. You'd never see from me again or hear from me again. I'd be off.
Well, what?
Everything?
Because $3 million for you, Jill, that's like a grocery run, maybe in California.
I could buy a couple of groceries.
Yeah.
Get a couple iced coffees.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some avocado toast if I'm feeling particularly.
Yeah.
snappy.
Oh, you silly millennial.
Ruining the economy.
All right. Get us out of here, Alex.
I was waiting for you to transition out.
Jill, it's my job to get us in here. Your job to
get us out. There we go. This is the first podcast we've done in 2 weeks. We'll get into it, folks. I promise. Yeah. Jill, let's move on to topic of the week. And since Loot River is maybe higher up score wise, let's start there. Topic of the week: Loot River indie game. Go.
Okay. So yeah, I played Loot River. I had some time to review. It was a very quick turnaround, but it came out on the 3rd, and it is out on Game Pass. So anybody who has that, totally worthwhile. It is essentially what it's sort of pitched as is a cross between Tetris and kind of a Souls experience. Which is not exactly where I would put it, but it is a very interesting pitch, and they absolutely deliver on that. The Tetris thing is particularly interesting, which I thought it was going to be kind of clunky and sort of hard to get around. But you control your character, with your left stick, like you do. And then everything under your feet, you're going through waterways and corridors and that sort of thing. You're basically on different versions of rafts, and they're all like Tetris shaped things. So you've got like T shapes and U shapes and squares and all of that. So the essential idea is like anytime you are traveling in the game, you are doing a puzzle to sort of get through, because you can't, there are some things where your raft is too big and you have to shift over, or so you're constantly moving, and you move the raft. You are 100%, so you're moving your character and your raft at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Which sounds a little mind-boggling, but when you started it, actually, my instincts for the camera, because there's no camera, it's a top-down
Isometric.
isometric.
Yeah.
So my instincts for just moving the camera around just suddenly kicked in, and that's 100%. Like, it became second nature, and it was so fun to just kind of like zoom through. It has these beautiful pixel art um, style art style to it. So when you're zooming through, you can see like the ripples in the water, but it's pixel arty and just really cool and fun, and it feels really dynamic. And the souls kind of part of it is um, it's sort of combat, because you lock on, you compare, you have these amazing counters where you have that Dark Souls moment where everything kind of pauses, and you do major damage and no one can hit you, and you feel really cool and powerful. Um, but it's not a lot like Dark Souls. It is, I think, if I were going to explain this to somebody, the game is a lot more, it is a roguelike. Like, it's sort of a roguelite because you do have some minor, like, permanent progression, but I'm gonna go with roguelike because it is like, you die and you lose everything. You are back to square one.
Wow.
Yeah, so you pick up, when you defeat enemies, you pick up knowledge, which I find is a really cool, I don't know why, like, that's such a simple, like, language change, but it's like, oh, I'm acquiring knowledge.
Getting smarter. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And so that's sort of the souls for this game, but not every single defeated character drops it. So it is sort of a rare currency. You can take it, you can go back to the hub world area, and you can unlock gear like armor or weapons, or like eventually sort of magic, um, to be able to use later. But you can't just say, hey, I want to start a run with my most powerful sword or my most powerful, like, piece of armor. You
Yeah.
kind of start out at square one, and when you go into the dungeon and you defeat something or you find a treasure chest, you can pick those items up. Those are now unlocked to find in the game.
Okay.
And then you start every round. You don't use the souls to level up or upgrade your stats in any way. That actually happens by defeating enemies. You have a little bar. So when you defeat an enemy, your bar goes up, and when you hit the top, you level up, you put a point in your stat. But when you die, those all go back down.
Ooh,
So
okay.
you are constantly like at square one. And that's one of the things that this is going to be hard for some people, because that is a very, can be very like disheartening. It can be very like rage quitting, but it's so it is so good at capturing you that every time that happened to me, I mean, I would literally get to what I knew was the final boss for the loop. I was
Mm.
like 5 worlds in, I was doing great, I was just absolute destroy tier, I had so many good perks, and then a stupid tiny enemy took me out, and I wasn't prepared for it, and you go all the way back, and you're back to, like, I have a stick, uh, and, like, common enemies can kill me again, and
Yep.
you die, like, 3 times in the first, level because you can't get any of your, and it's like, "Oh, I wanna quit this," but then every single time, I would be like, "But just one more run, I know I can do it," and then I would get really far again, and that's really the, like, draw and pull of this game is it's really gonna test you. If you're one of those people, I do happen to be a Souls fan, so if you enjoy that sort of, like, overcoming challenge and that amazing feeling of like, "Yeah, I did it, I can't believe it," like, this is a very good game, for that feeling. but it is a little harsher and less accessible, I think, than Souls games because you aren't progressing. You don't have bonfires that let you go to the next level. Like you're always starting at one and going through. And it gave me sort of vibes of like that particular thing gave me vibes of like Hades, where when you die, you go back. You don't get to skip forward to the other levels that you've finally beaten into. You have to get all
Right.
the way through in order to go.
But it sounds like it's not as forgiving as Hades maybe is because of the amount of upgrades you get in that game versus Loot River, right?
Um, yes. I think a lot of it is just you getting better at combat and recognizing like, okay, I know this character does this, so this enemy does that, and I'm staying away here. And learning how to use the platforms to your benefit. Like it's so much fun. Like Souls games and this particular and this game are really fun because like finding a way to sort of cheese it is always rewarding somehow. So like being able to like move the platform, get away from anybody else, charge up an attack, move my platform, unleash the attack, and then run away very quickly with my platform and continue to do that is just
Yeah.
like, haha, I gotcha.
Yeah. Does anyone ever fall in the water or what's below?
No.
Or are they linked? Oh,
No,
man.
thank goodness.
Yeah.
I would be so upset if you could fall off the platforms, but there are some things that like kind of change up how you approach the platform. So like in some levels, there are things like fire traps, and if you aren't paying attention and you walk over it, it just starts flames erupt from the raft and your raft starts burning and you
Oh,
will
no.
like die if you don't find another raft to jump to.
Yeah.
And if you attach it to another raft, then that raft is going to burn up and then the next one and the next one. So you're like, you really have to get away.
Sounds like chaos. Oh my Lanta.
Yeah.
The game's been on my radar, but like
Yep.
just seeing it in action now, videos are out, just see even just gifs of the water shaders and stuff going on. The game just looks really unique, and
Yeah.
I
It's
really want to
very,
play it.
very pleasing to the eye and it's so much fun to like get to the different very distinct areas and have a very different feeling about each. Like one feels sort of like, oh, this is gross and grimy, and another is like, oh, this is a lovely castle-y area. But then you've got like super questionable and hard bosses. And it's got a really interesting story. It's very Dark Soulsy in that the story is not told like kind of up front. There is a lot of like under the surface going on.
Mm-hmm.
With finding different characters and figuring out what's going on and kind of plugging in on the details sort of yourself and weaving everything in together. There are a lot of mysteries to this game, so there are things that are not just on the regular run. So I would be going through and like I found an illusory wall. I'm like, oh
Oh,
no, now I have to go around hitting every wall I find.
right.
It's got some really fun, like even though it's like a kind of dark gloomy-ish atmospheric game, it's got
Yeah.
some humor to it. Because the other day I found a what I believe was called a flatulence charm, which I picked up, and apparently it's something like if you get hit by an enemy, you produce a toxic cloud that uh, poisons yourself, but you become stronger. And I'm like, that is so funny. There's in the hub world, there is a collection of chickens
Mm-hmm.
that you can go up and just pet. You can
Pet
pet
the
the chickens. They cluck happily, and I'm like, every single time I'm in the hub, I go check out those chickens because they're good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Is it like Ocarina? If you attack them, they start to clap back at you.
I don't know if you actually can attack them. I think
Okay.
it's only. Well, I don't know if I even tried. What kind of horrible person would try to kill the chickens?
Yeah. Why would anyone do that?
You're a monster.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I've definitely seen some people who were exasperated by the sort of roguelike-ish like progression stuff, and I'm 100% understanding of that. But if you're someone who's like a glutton for punishment like me, like go for it. This is a fun game to pick up and play.
Okay.
And it's quick. It's one of those like you can play this for 15 minutes, hop out, come back in whenever you're feeling like it.
Okay. And forgive me, you may have said it earlier, but in Loot River, are the levels procedurally generated, or is it
Yes.
like okay, so it's different almost every time.
Different every time. Absolutely.
Okay. Wow, this is checking a lot of boxes on Alex's games. He doesn't know if he wants to play, but it looks cool. Like I want to get into it. I'm gonna. It's on my Game Pass download list, but it sounds like it's leaning heavily into those roguelike elements, like you said. So
yeah.
What did you give this game, Jill Grote?
I believe. Let me double check to make sure. I gave this game an 8.5.
Okay, so you were pretty high on it.
I was pretty high on it. I was having a really fun time with it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, if you want to learn more about Loot River, be sure to check out Jill's wonderful review. We may be streaming it today. Maybe we'll get to it. I don't know. But
Can you
yeah,
do the entire stream in that voice?
I can. It would be annoying, and
You sound like the apparently.
I was just about to say. Apparently, I'm on Game Informer, and we're talking about video games, and we're gonna go over to the playlist. Alex Van Aken and Jill Grote have been playing things. Wow, that like after a while, that does just not feel good. And I'm sure people are like, "Yeah, my ears feel bad."
Yeah, it didn't sound good either.
Yeah. So, Jill, let's keep the focus on you and Alex. You can jump in here as well. You also got to review another indie title that I definitely think had a bit more buzz, just given its placement on, I think it was the PlayStation Showcase or State of Play, however long ago that was. Time doesn't make sense anymore. What else have you been playing, Jill?
I've been playing Trek to Yomi. And it's funny because the two games are somewhat structurally similar.
Interesting.
But I had a much less fun time with this particular title, which was sad because I was also following this game and very interested in it. But I didn't find a whole lot to be excited about while I was playing. It is the basic setup is that you are a sort of orphaned kid who's been taken in by a samurai and being trained to be a samurai. It is the big draw, like the thing that is really holding up a lot here is it's very cinematic. It is inspired by Japanese cinema. It is very aesthetically pleasing, but for how aesthetically pleasing it is, it looks bad. Like it's a very bizarre sort of half and half because it has these really cool like camera angles and like very artistic lean to the art direction. It's all 100% black and white, and it kind of has that filmic feel, sort of grainy old film. Yeah.
Light bloom, all that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool artistic to it, but when you're actually playing the game and gameplay itself, it is so much a like PlayStation 2 era game.
And
like,
not in a good way, it sounds.
Not in like the greatest way. Not in a way that like made me nostalgic. But it did make me want to go back and play things like the original Fatal Frame and like Tenchu and things like that because like the graphics look really similar to those games and they're like it's surprising. The game kind of plays that way too with like characters who are in dramatic urgent moments saying like, you know, they're screaming for help or whatever, but their characters look like
right,
you know, and it's just like this is bizarre. Gameplay is just not that much fun.
Okay.
The game is essentially a 2D side scroller.
Okay.
So you're running from side to side, and characters run up to attack you. And like if you're running this way, character is off the screen. They have to like run up to your line and then face you, and then you can attack.
So is it kind of 2.5D in that way? Like people are coming from the background, or is it off screen still?
I mean, I guess 2.5 is fair.
2.25.
But like the action all takes place on that one lane. Like you're
Okay.
not going anywhere else.
Okay.
And it's got offshoots, but it's just like, oh, there's that one thing and I have to come back and now I can go back through the other route. Combat is a series of combo buttons, so you're stringing together a bunch of button pushes, which, you know, there are some cool moves. Like I in particular really like the like if you parry at the right time, you can kind of step around and behind them and slash their back, and that looks really cool. But for the most part, it's just a series of button pushes, and every time that you die, it is very PS2 like, not only in graphics, but you have to save at save points every minute or so. So you would run up, fight a group, find something, fight another group, save at the save point, rinse and repeat. But if you happen to like get to that second group or get to the boss or whatever and like die, you're going all the way back to your last save. So hopefully, you know, you got the right save point and you didn't skip it somehow. And everything repeats. So if the character had some sort of scripted dialogue, like, that post looks familiar, I remember this, and then runs along and like, if you die, you say that again. And you're gonna die a lot in this game. So if you go back like 10 times and you have to hear about that one post again, like
I'm gonna throw your console.
exactly.
So
Like I don't care about the post. I don't care about
we
it.
don't care. Get it out of here. Is this meant to be a difficult game, or is it because the combat is so archaic, like it becomes challenging in that way, right? Or is it meant to be like a hard experience?
I think there's some level of it is supposed to be challenging on to some degree. This particular game does have choices in the very beginning, so you can choose to go in and just explore the story, or be, you know, kind of in the middle, or like super hard battles and fighting and all of that jazz. So you do have that choice early on. Which I went straight down the middle, you know, trying to have what is the sort of ideal experience of having the story and the fighting. But like even if you choose to go without combat and make combat super easy, the story's not there. That's the thing that probably disappointed me the most, because I wanted this to be, it's supposed to be inspired by Japanese cinema. It's got this amazing artistic look to it. I was hoping that the story would sort of reflect that, but it seemed to me that the game relied almost entirely on tropes and well-worn, you know, themes that we've heard over and over again with no real nuance. You know, you are the samurai. You are the, you know, persistent and duty sworn and, you know, all of
Nothing will
that.
break that until it does, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then the beginning kind of struggle, I don't really agree with. People keep coming back to a choice that you made, and they keep saying that you did it for like a bad reason. And it's like, well, the game never showed that in any way, so I don't agree with the conflict that's happening. You get a choice, sort of, like about 3 times in the game, and the choice doesn't seem to be important until the very end. And then it seems super important because it completely changes the ending that you get. And you're not really sure how they're connected or what. So like that was messy. I didn't really love that. And I mean, I got through my notes, and my notes kept getting a little more sassy every single time with the story. I was like, oh no, I could never have suspected this would happen.
You're like, oh,
That's sort of
Jill.
how I felt the whole kind of through the game. But I do want to encourage people to try it out, just because it is so incredibly um aesthetically cool, you know?
Okay.
Like it is, you will walk through and like just normal walking, and you run up to an enemy and it's just a normal encounter, but you're two people in the middle of a river with like lightning striking behind you, and it's this very cool framed situation. And it's so bizarre because it's like on one hand that's really cool and I really liked that about the game. On the other hand, you've got this like strange archaic design and graphical look to it. And so yeah, this game was not as high up on my list, unfortunately.
Right.
But it is
Well,
also on Game Pass if anybody wants to check it out.
so it is on Game Pass. Okay,
Mhm.
interesting. Okay, Alex, what did I know? I think you were in a similar boat, at least in the idea that people should play it for the visual aesthetic alone. Correct?
Yeah. I've only played an hour of this game. Okay. So keep that in
Throwing it out
mind.
there. Yep.
20% of the game though, evidently. But yeah, I couldn't help but keep thinking that I don't want to call it a bad game, but the sentence that kept popping up into my mind was sometimes it's worth playing a bad game.
Okay.
And this seems like one of those instances to me because it has, I'll say a mediocre game. How about that's a little kinder? Sometimes it's good to play a mediocre game. Because I think there are some redeeming qualities to it. I mean, I agree with Jill 100%. The real only redeeming quality is the framing and like the filmic look to it. It is just like it is Kurosawa like through and through. Like even like when the game hitches and like there's a lower frame rate, it kind of plays into like the old shutter angles they would use filming those, like
Mm-hmm.
where things don't quite feel like as natural as they would be. And so kind of like even when the game does mess up, they kind of like have this like parachute where like, well, it kind of looks like those old cameras. Um, and yeah, just the framing. I mean, really, that's all I care about. Is like, it's like, what if you were like looking at those old like camera angles, but then you could like walk around and explore. And not that there's really much to explore,
Right.
which is a bummer. But it's just like novel to me. It reminds me almost of like Resident Evil, those like tank controls almost in certain
Mm-hmm.
sections. Um, where you are walking through this space in a fixed camera angle, and it's really awkward because of that, but it's also like really gorgeous. And at times I feel like only a video game could do this, like this feeling
Mhm.
that it's giving me.
Yeah,
um
that particular thing for me flashed back to the original Fatal Frame and how a lot of the time like you don't control the camera. Like you control the camera that you have as an item, but like the camera is looking down at you or looking around, so it heightens the sense of like you don't have control and it's scary, and a ghost could get you at any moment and you can't see around corners and stuff. Like it does
yeah,
give me that sort of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Obviously this isn't a I don't know if I can say that because like there I the, the game does go to some scary places
Really?
setting wise, because Yomi, if you don't know what that is, you should look it up. Um
yeah.
I have homework.
It's not a town,
it's
Okay.
not a town, no.
Huh. Okay.
Um
it's a
it is,
place.
yeah, it is a supernatural place.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, it's not supposed to be scary in that way, or at least it did not come off to me as supposed to be like a frightening horror game.
Yeah,
So
for
those,
sure.
yeah, it didn't have exactly the one to one, but like the just having unique looks to things, like video games in general tend to have a certain look, and that's what you're used to. And then as soon as that breaks, it's so refreshing. So this game, 100%, I'm gonna give it credit for that. It is a very cool looking game.
Yeah. And like even like the black and white look like really lends itself to like classic tropes like design language stuff, like, oh, that platform is covered in light. I should probably walk over there, and that's where I'm probably supposed to go. Like stuff like that really pops and like with because like not only is it black and white, but everything looks like it's coming through like an old film lens, which has
Mm-hmm.
like your highlights bloom and flare. And that works really well for navigating the space, even though it is still awkward to navigate those spaces. There's just it's like such it is not a great game, but I think it's worth checking out. That's kind of where I fall on it. Like I could even see myself. I've only played an hour, but I think I might restart. And I only played on story mode, so like I'm like one-shotting the enemies, and it's a much more enjoyable game for that. To like just kind of like soak in the ambiance of it all.
Interesting.
Because I think like yeah, I could keep rambling, but I agree with Jill. If you're at all interested, though, I think check it out, knowing that the gameplay elements are going to be a big disappointment. But if you are interested in the presentation, the format, or just like old, samurai movies or even like Western movies that borrowed from those tropes, check it out.
And also to like not to praise and get into like Xbox Game Pass because I feel like we do that so much, but it is such a testament to how cool that subscription is because you can.
I didn't realize it was on there.
Yeah, it's coming out a day of, I believe.
Okay, because I always associate it with PlayStation, but it is on Xbox.
Yeah, because of all of it is. So yeah, you get to pick these up and try them out. So even if a game like Trek to Yomi isn't something that you would pay full price for, you get to experience the cool look of it without having to be upset that maybe this is not the game you wanted to spend. Maybe you only get a chance to spend enough for one game, and this is the game that you got saddled with. And I think we've all had that experience before. I certainly have.
Time shift.
Clever. But yeah, it is definitely worth checking out just for the absolute like loveliness of it.
Interesting. What a bizarre contradiction. I feel like it's very rare that we get something where it's like the art style is amazing, right? But the graphics are subpar, like the character models are subpar and stuff like that. And honestly, this may be low hanging fruit, but like everything you're talking about makes me go, I never beat Iki Island in Ghost of Tsushima, and I can throw Kurosawa mode on, and that sounds like a better use of my time, frankly. But
I will say I think that it's the 2D plane almost works better than Ghost of Tsushima, reinforcing that that style. I mean, I think you'd have a blast playing Tsushima probably, but I almost think that this game does a better job realizing those old movies than Ghost of Tsushima does.
Because oftentimes Ghost did feel like it was just a black and white filter that they threw like a looping film on, right?
Yeah.
There's sections where it worked better than others, right? But interesting. Well,
yeah, this feels filmic, whereas I didn't get that from Ghost of Tsushima.
Like the cinematics in Tsushima, you're in black and white would probably feel good, and then but because the nature of this game, because it is on such a narrow plane, you can make that presentation a lot easier. But I would in no way encourage anybody to pick this up over Ghost. Ghost is so much better.
Yeah. And because you mentioned the cool fight, right? And I just in my head flashed to the one of those mini boss battle
cool
samurai
like
duels
fights.
and
I might play that too. Actually,
those are so good.
You gotta.
I've been in a rut a little bit lately, and like just wanting to play something. And I got probably 4 or 5 hours into Ghost and dropped it. Maybe it's time to go back.
It is an exceptional game.
Can you play in Kurosawa mode from the beginning?
Yep.
Now?
Yeah, okay. You can turn it on from the start. So
because that wasn't at launch, right?
I think so. I could be wrong though.
Was it? Okay.
You're making me question.
You're right. It was.
Now, right?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. And that also, especially Ghost is great. We're not going to get too much deeper into it, but I feel you, Alex. Okay. Jill, Trek to Yomi. What did you give it?
This was. Let me double check because it's nuts.
I remember what.
I don't want to tell you guys what the wrong one is. Okay, it is a 6.75.
Okay, so not unplayable by any stretch.
No.
something to check out if you. And it sounds like you beat it in 5 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah, it's about a 5 hours. 5 to 7 hours is what the developer said.
That sounds like the perfect like cozy Sunday, right? You're not doing anything else. You're just chilling, right? I'm gonna download this game, play it for a couple hours, and then be done. So, go check that out. We also have the video review, if I'm not mistaken, on the YouTube page. So if you like your media visual, you're in the right place. YouTube.
It'll be a pretty looking video review. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex Van Aken, you get to see the pretty video. You get to hear his pretty voice. You get to read Jill's beautiful words. It's great. Wow, what else do you want? All right. Cool. Alex, I feel like it's been weeks since we talked about anything else that you've been playing. What have you been up to? What else have you been playing?
Yeah, I've been God, it's been a few weeks. My dad's been in the hospital. He's been in the hospital for a month. I was there for a while. If people follow me on social, they know about all that stuff. So I wasn't really playing games then. I brought my Switch, didn't play it once. Then I got back for a few days before a work trip. Played some Apex Legends, a little bit of League. Then I was on a work trip for a week. And so I haven't really been around my house to play games. So I've just had my Switch. I've been playing Spelunky, believe it or not. And I don't have anything interesting to say about Spelunky other than I've been playing it and I love that game. I think it's funny. Blake and I both played it recently and he bounced off of it. And he was like, I get why people like this. It's really good. It's great for what it is. This is not a game for me. Whereas I'm the opposite. I'm like, this thing's great. This is exactly my kind of game. Dude, if I feel like there's like some of those indies out there that like you just know the name and you know that they demand respect, but you never played them. For me, like Rogue Legacy, I've never played that, but I know how big of a game and how big of an impact that had on, the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like Spelunky is another one of those games for a lot of people. So that's why I want to talk about it today, because I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there who have heard of Spelunky, but they've never checked it out. And it's so much fun on Switch. I actually downloaded it on my wife's Switch Lite, and I'm reminded of how much I like the Switch Lite. The D-pad on that handheld is so awesome. And I feel like it gives the OLED's screen a run for its money. I always felt like the Switch Lite looked way better than the regular Switch. It was a smaller screen, so you had more pixels per inch, and I just felt like it was a more vibrant screen. Obviously, it's not OLED, but
I want to throw a bomb in here and then run away, but I don't think we're ever getting a Switch Pro. How do you feel about that?
No, but we will get a Switch 2, I feel like, eventually.
Yeah. I think OLED is the final version of the Switch as we know it.
I think there's a lot of people.
There will be more Switches.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in our industry who want that to happen because they reported it as such. So, but I would like, yes, we all want a more powerful Switch. That'd be amazing. So,
the Switch U.
Switch U.
Oh no.
But yeah, I've been playing Spelunky. I've made it to the second level once. I'm still stuck on the first level, but man, I love the compass in that game. That's like my favorite item. Just because it tells me where I'm supposed to go. And I'm trying to, so I think the way it works is that like once you get to the tunnel in between the two worlds a few times, then you unlock the shortcut to that second world. And so I'm just slowly trying to, make my way. It's such a hard game, but like learning all the systems and the rules is so much fun. And like seeing how like different items interact with each other and what happens if I set this thing on fire, or what happens if, I instead of grabbing this special treasure, what happens if I hit the treasure? What can I like?
Treasure attacks.
Yeah, like there's this altar covered in blood. What happens if I kill an enemy on top of it? Oh, something happened. Like it's just a game of cause and effect. Like that is Spelunky. It's like I'm going to like do this action. What weird thing is going to happen? It's just full of like emergent moments, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of fun, especially on Switch. I definitely recommend picking it up. Spelunky 2 is on Switch as well. I'll pick that up eventually. But I've been enjoying playing the classic one. just in my downtime while watching episodes of Selling Sunset and
Barry.
other.
And Barry.
We're
Barry?
supposed to be starting Barry maybe tonight. We'll see.
Oh. Jill, you watch Barry?
I have watched Barry. I have not watched it all the way through though.
Oh, you gotta finish it. It's so good.
Okay.
Barry's one of the best shows
I'm
on
just
TV.
gonna whisper so that no one else
But that's all I've been playing, Alex. How about you?
can
Okay. Y'all demanding me to do voices today. It's a roller coaster.
Nobody's demanding that you talk like this. You just chose to. Just to clarify.
Jill said I had to talk like the apparently kid earlier. Now I'm doing this. I don't know what's going on.
I like that
You
you're doing
sound
it in the
so-
whisper too.
Yeah.
You sound so much like the apparently kid. It's ridiculous.
Apparently I am. I think we're close to the same age, so you never know. It could have been me. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, audio listeners, if you can't see, I am wearing the Halo shirt. It's time, right? We got to talk about it. We haven't talked about it in days. I got to talk about it. Halo Infinite, little indie game. It came out last year to great success. Shadow dropped their multiplayer, right? Campaign was one of the best we've seen in a long time. Great start. Some issues, right? Battle Pass, not very good. Some of the support lacking, right? Bro.
The Battle Pass had awesome unlocks.
It did. Okay. Towards the end of it did, but it definitely we took a while to get there, right? There was the problem with it took forever to unlock anything. You'd grind all day and you get a level or two, right? 343 had some issues at the start. They've worked them out over the course of season 1, and now we are finally in season 2 of Halo Infinite. And I've played a good probably 3 hours, right? So nothing comprehensive yet, but actually no, I've played probably closer to 4 or 5 given the stream this week that we did, and then this morning I was playing. Yeah. For those who don't know, I guess I'll set the scene right. Season 2 has a new battle pass. It has 2 new maps, and it has technically, so they advertise as 3 new modes, but there's more than I thought that was going to be in this, and I can break that down in a second.
Interesting.
There's also a new cinematic trailer for the story that's going on in season 2 titled Lone Wolves, right? The Banished have their own AI now, that kind of stuff. There's also new seasonal events, right? So it's a decent amount of content at the start. I think people are still bemoaning it for the fact that we were told co-op was going to be at the start of season 2. It is not here. I think according to their roadmap 343 put out, it has been delayed. I think they're going to beta test in August, if I remember that right. I could be wrong. I will double check. But so Forge and co-op are still coming. It's just taking a while. But focusing on the good, there is a lot in this season already that I'm genuinely enjoying. And I don't know, I'm scared because it may be a little too late, but what's here is very good. And I think the highlight so far for me has been the last Spartan standing mode, which is Battle Royale Light, I would call it. So it is a 12-person free-for-all. You start with the shock pistol and a normal pistol, right?
Okay.
And you start on, at least as of this recording, Breaker. The new map is the only one available. It is a banished ship yard where they're breaking down ships and stuff like that. So very, very a stark difference to the Pacific Northwest themes of the majority of what we've seen from Halo Infinite thus far. Last Spartan standing, you start with those weapons, no grenades, right? So, and then how it works is it's kind of like gun game, where it's anytime you get a kill or assist, you build up your points, right? And if you hit, I think the first, you start at level 0 or level 1. The next level is once you get enough assists or kills to fill that point total, you go up to, you get a mangler. And then your pistol falls out of that rotation, right? Because you only get 2 weapons. From there, it's then you get the assault rifle, and then after that, you get the commando, and then I think it's the bulldog shotgun, and then I think it's the BR. I think that's the hierarchy of it. So the more you get kills and assists, right, the better your artillery is, right? And if you have a BR versus someone with a commando, you're probably going to win that fight. Yeah. The draw of this, though, Jill and Mr. Van Aken, is that it is you only have 5 lives, and once those are done, you're out. That's it. So it is that thing where it's like you are very motivated to get kills, right? And assists because you do get better gear, right? The flip side of that, though, is if you're going in guns blazing like yours truly, like the fool that I am, you're going to lose lives quicker, right? Unless you're a beast, which there are plenty of them out there. It's an interesting mix, like in any battle royale you see, right? Where like sometimes the person who is 3 and like 6 wins the match, right? And the person who went 14 and 1 loses, right? So all the while this chaos is happening, you're fighting against these 12 players with the 5 lives, right? The map starts to shrink a little by little. There's the classic circle of death, moving in. Not until I don't think it starts to move in. I'm sure it moves in at 3 or 4 people left, but there's a certain time you get the full breadth of the map at the start. So I wasn't sure about this mode going into it. I thought it felt like a half measure. And as Mike from Breaking Bad says, we don't do half measures here, right? It's full. You go full, right? So I was skeptical coming into this. And it took me about 2 or 3 matches on stream the other day. And I was like, oh, okay, this is something. Like they're on to something here. It is this perfect, like, I only have 15 minutes. Cool. I'm going to jump into this and see if I can win a mini battle royale, because it does have those highs and lows, right? Where it's like, I am one of 2 people and the circle is moving in and like I don't know what they have, right? And I know I have like just this shotgun, so it's like, how am I going to use that to my advantage? It's very chaotic and very satisfying when you do get into those upper levels, like a battle royale, right? But it is inherently different, right? Because you're not picking stuff off the map as much, right? It's not like PUBG where your best gun is sitting in the middle of the map. It's like it really forces you to rely on your skills, which I really like, because it's like by level 3 you have the AR, and I'm like, okay, if I can get to that point but before I lose a certain amount of lives, I'm set and I'm ready to go, right? But it's an interesting mind game too, and I haven't struck the balance yet of playing conservative enough to not be in the center trying to get kills while also like boosting those points, right? So I can get the weaponry that I'm going to need if I want to get into that final showdown. And it's a mode that it feels like a nice modern touch for Halo that I'm really enjoying and I want to see on other maps, because I really like that, and I really like Breaker, the map that it's on. It, like I said, more deserty. I really enjoy the verticality to it, and it doesn't feel the flow feels better than something like some of the other big team battle maps, because it feels like it is meant for like individual traversal better than some of those other spaces do, because it's these derelict ships, right? But there's a ton of platforms for you to jump on and scamper through. And I found I was doing best when I was using that verticality, and it just had a nice flow to it. And brown / those oranges are kind of drab, right? But I feel like it fits with the aesthetic of the Banished. And I'm really enjoying it. There's this lava pit in the middle that you can either fall into, or there's this laser cutting through a ship that if you accidentally jump into, you're gone. You're not even matter at that point. And I haven't got to play it outside of Last Spartan Standing, but I'm really, really impressed so far. And it's continuing that trend that I would argue 343 is making some of the best Halo maps we've seen in a long time. And I think Breaker is a part of that. So I think you're going to like that mode a lot, Alex.
I just installed the update while you were talking. I'm ready.
Let's go. The other couple of things, I know I'm ranting and raving here, but the other couple of things that I really like, I've only got to play Catalyst once, which is kind of a bummer, which is the arena map, very reminiscent of Guardian from Halo 3 in visual aesthetic, and also I feel like movement. There is a nice sense of movement in there too, because there is not to the level of Breaker, right? But there is verticality and platforms that you need to consider. It is very like, it's that kind of map, right? Where I'm on floor 0 and I'm seeing that there's an enemy on the radar, but I don't know what floor they're on, above me. So it's like, that is a challenge, right? To figure out and get pretty hectic. And I got to play a game mode, which brings me to like the next point that I really like of this. It called, like, I think it was Vampire oddball. It's oddball, but with a different rule set. In that you are, when you pick up the ball and you get a kill with it, you get overshield or you get a boost to your shield. So it's like it's and there's no movement speed. Not cooldown. What's the word I'm looking for? Effect, right? So you're as fast as the normal Spartans. So you can be running around just like a juggernaut, right? Just smashing people with the ball, right? And you're getting overshield for it. So it encourages you to play a little bit more aggressively while also staying tactical, right? And I thought that was a nice fit for the Catalyst map that I played it on. But that's not like, the big focus was on King of the Hills, right? And I don't need to. King of the Hill's great. It's King of the Hill. Play with a good party, otherwise you're going to lose. Like we've been there, done that, right? Like they finally have added variations to these game modes that are very exciting to me. Like I played Rumble Pit, and it was Ninja Free for All, and it was everyone had an energy sword and the grapple shot, unlimited grapple shot, and then you just went right, and you had plasma grenades as well, and it was just beautiful chaos. Everyone was swinging around, like trying to get each other, like trying to figure out who gets advantage, right? When you harpoon someone with the grapple shot, I was like, this is glorious. And this is exactly what this game needed, because that's the beauty of the campaign in that game, is the free use of those equipment pieces, right? And the more that 343 can embrace that within multiplayer, the better that suite is going to get. And like I played Tactical Slayer, and it's not just BRs anymore. I played one with the Commando. I played one with the Stalker rifle. So it finally feels like it is a bit more fully fleshed out. It doesn't feel like, okay, I'm going to Fiesta. I know exactly what this is. Like, this is fun, right? I'm enjoying this. But it's like, it is what it is, where it's like, now it's like, oh, like, are we going to get Ninja Free for All, or is it going to be like regular? Like, there's some excitement there. And especially with like the solid map design. And I'm not ready to pass full judgment yet on the maps that I've played, just because like I like Behemoth at the start, and now I hate that map. So I will say, as someone who played this game pretty religiously almost every day for the first 3 months of it being out, this is something I am excited about, and I think the right steps to getting me back and to have a nice battle pass again, where they've added like I keep wanting to say common courtesy, because that's the normal thing you would say, right? But it's the money to buy the stuff in stores. So you could grind the battle pass was like $8.99 this time.
Sure.
It's 100 per whatever, the different levels you hit, right? So it's like, presumably I could get an exciting new piece of armor if I really wanted it to, without spending extra money.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
That's a really nice touch. So I am afraid, though, because we only have 12 maps, right? I'm afraid it's not going to lure people back, like the more casual people back in, because it doesn't make enough of a splash, because it's not like battle royale. You need to be here for it. No, it's a free for all mode, right? With some battle royale elements, right? New maps, right? But it's only 2, and I literally, in my 4 hours of playing, I only got Catalyst once, which was a bummer, right? So it's like, I'm afraid people who are going to come back and be like, okay, yeah, they've added some new stuff here and there, but I don't know if it's enough to pull me in. So, but
I know I'm excited to check it out, especially those battle pass improvements. Seem sick too. So
yeah, definitely.
It's one of those things that I feel sort of bad about, because when it came out, it seemed like so many people were so excited initially, and then you had some of these problems, maybe rubbing people the wrong way, and it feels so much like, if this sort of thing could have happened much sooner, or I mean, you said it earlier, with a little too little too late sort of vibe here, and I get the sense that a lot of people are going to jump back in and be like, okay, it's fine, and then jump out. Whereas it could have been the like, this is the game that people are playing this year thing. So it is sort of sad in a way to see that.
I genuinely think if this is the launch suite that they launched with, or if this is the multiplayer suite that they launched with, like, we are not having these conversations about dead game, like, those assholes, like,
that's your new voice that you have to do through the whole podcast.
I am a gremlin from Lord of the Rings. It is.
I'm sorry.
I'm not. It's something like that I really hope keeps people like me in the experience, right? Especially now, like now is the perfect time. At least for me, I don't have a game I'm excited about coming out until June, right? So I could play this for another month, right? And be happy with that, right? But it is a thing where it's like, you know, and I think the Halo Championship Series was on Twitch, I think last weekend or the weekend before, and it was doing 50, 60K on Twitch. So it's like
You
Halo
see me
is,
playing? I was in
yeah,
there.
yeah, bro.
You
I
like
saw a
my
nice triple, yeah,
yeah spectacular?
yeah, dude, yeah. This
I did
man's
that for
killing it.
you.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
told my
buddy.
team, I was like, this is for Stadnik. And I just
Listen.
ripped it.
Yeah, go follow. What are you on, Team Liquid?
Yeah, twitch.tv/Team Liquid.
Okay, yeah,
Player number 3.
cool. Yeah, we'll go look out for you. Yeah, I would encourage people though who started in December, right? Thought it was fun and maybe fell off. I would encourage you to give this a shot because I think there is a lot more variation here, and I think it's a fun thing now where it's like, obviously if you just want Team Slayer, it's there, right? But like if you want a little bit more freedom and creativity in your game modes, like it feels like it's here now, which is exciting. Haven't got to play Land Grab, and haven't gotten to play Breaker outside of, like I said, Last Spartan Standing, but I'm excited to do so, and I know I'm gonna keep playing it over the next couple of weeks while we wait for Mario Strikers. I think is the next big game I'm excited for. Right, BA? Yeah. So cool. Yeah, go check that out. I did a stream Tuesday, and then I think I'm gonna put it on the YouTube page just for people to see, because I want people to have fun with Last Spartan Standing, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
that was a lot.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a little siesta. We're gonna take a little nappy nap, and then we'll be right back with some community emails. So get your blankets, get your cocoa. It's gonna be nice.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. Time for housekeeping, and then we're going to get into some listener emails. Lots of Star Wars themed questions this week because,
Star Wars.
May the 4th be with you, of course.
Also with you.
Yes. And what's the one for the 5th? The
Cinco
the
de Mayo.
No, like the Sith.
Return of the
Fifth.
Or Attack of the 5th. Or...
Attack of the 5th or something.
I like my tacos better than your weird aliens wizards.
Of course, we always start housekeeping off with a new listener review. This week's podcast review comes from, the username is just person who enjoys podcasts. I promise I didn't have my mom go and leave this review. She already left a review early on, so she only has one account, guys. This is a real person.
Yeah, Mom, just don't make it too obvious.
Is your mom not a real person?
She is real,
yeah.
but like she's biased. So this person who enjoys podcasts wrote in with a 5-star review. The subject line says "ballin'," and then the body just says, "But at what cost?"
I have given this review like way too much thought. I've sat there like at nights. It's like, but what do they mean? At what cost?
What do they know?
Is it the cost of stardom? Right? Because everyone's on the street right now, just like waiting for me to come out of my apartment. It's a whole Beatles
paparazzi,
thing, right? You know?
Yeah, outside my door.
Yeah.
I just wish I could go back to, just working in the coffee shop, being unrecognized. Life is so different now.
At what cost, Alex Van Aken?
Yeah, everything.
Oh, that's gonna haunt my dreams tonight.
So thank you for that funny review, person who enjoys podcasts, and thank you for taking the time out of your week to go and help us out by leaving an honest review over on Apple Podcasts. Of course, if you're listening on Spotify, you can leave us a rating there. We appreciate all of the support. It really does help us out. This week, we are going to be streaming on Thursday, potentially some Overwatch, potentially some Loot River, big question mark, but we will be live Thursday, 2 p.m. Central over at twitch.tv/GameInformer. And then the following day, same time, 2 p.m. Central, we're going to be, I think we've got more Star Wars going up with Mr. Marcus Stewart. But yeah, whatever we're playing, we'll be there Thursday and Friday, 2 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/GameInformer. Over on YouTube, make sure to go check out our Trek to Yomi video review. Of course, Jill wrote that review. I voiced and edited it, so we'd love it if you went and checked it out. And you kind of see what we were talking about with, game looks really good, but also isn't necessarily all the way there. So yeah, go check out our video review. It's awesome. Follow the crew on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, wherever they're at, social media. Follow Alex Stadnick at Studnick76. You can follow Jill at FinRuin. And you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Just three of us this week. It feels weird. Like normally I have a whole laundry list of social media handles to read off. It was easy this week. At Studnick76, at FinRuin, that's FINRUIN, and me, I'm at It's Van Aken. Lastly, go check out all of our other amazing podcasts, Video Gameography. The crew is currently going through the Super Giant Games roster. I'm excited for that upcoming Hades episode. Should be fun.
Yeah. Sneak peek. I'm going to be on it.
Oh,
you
hell
did.
yeah.
I was wondering if you were going to say, okay, all right.
Let's go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Also, check out our weekly Nintendo podcast, All Things Nintendo. Got a very special episode coming up. I'm not gonna. It's not my place to say anything else. But just knowing what I know, you've got a treat coming. And then lastly, check out our comic book podcast, From Panel to Podcast. That's it for housekeeping this week, Alex. Let's get into some listener emails.
Listener emails. We haven't done this in a bit because last week we didn't do any listener emails because we had Joe Juba on. By the way, I will, community, I promise I will get the game draft voting posted. It should be posted already. But this is the part of the show where you get to write in, tell us, ask us how we're doing, what we're doing. Ask us whatever you want. We've had plenty of great shows where people throw in some random stuff, and we appreciate you for it. But you can send in your queries and concerns to podcast@GameInformer.com, or you can send them to us over on Discord, which Alex Van Aken, how do people get in on that?
Yeah, just subscribe on twitch.tv/GameInformer. Link your Twitch to your Discord in the Discord desktop app. And then we should appear in your server integrations. If you have any issues, email me, alexvanaken@gameinformer.com. There's a couple emails I'm sitting on still. I apologize for the delay. I'll get you in there. It's been a hectic week.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Yeah, exactly. It's been 1 week since I looked at my inbox. So I will get back to you ASAP. But yeah, alexvanaken@gameinformer.com if you have any issues. Yeah, Alex, let's do this.
Cool. We got a great crop, Star Wars themed for the most part here. But before we get into the Star Wars fun, there's this upstart new Discord member that I want to read from here, and this is from Damien Tack. Does that sound familiar?
Daniele?
Yeah.
Danielle Tack?
Yeah. First time caller, long time listener. What would a famed "whose line is it anyway" person say about Grizzlies in 5? Thank you for making a great show. He'd be wrong, Dan. He'd be wrong because they didn't win in 5. They won in 6. So that shows what Greg Proops knows. All right. Also, it's very close to Poops. It's funny. If you're curious of what that joke is, be sure to go to my Twitter and it'll become a little bit more clear. Wolves are coming, baby. They'll just be next season. Don't you worry. Moving on to a real question from a real person. Attack Corgi writes in and says, a simple question. What's your lightsaber color? I thought this was very good.
It's a simple question, but one that's hard to answer.
Right, because I feel like the colors also represent the Jedi that wields them, right? Outside of just like red for Sith, right? I feel like the purple lightsaber is so linked to Mace and his style of authority, right? No nonsense, like always thinking someone's scheming, right? But also can mess stuff up when he needs to. But purple's always looked really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I had a hard time with this too because the last time we did the super replay for Jedi Fallen Order, it was the spoilers, turn away if you haven't played. It was the moment where you got to pick the lightsaber choice of color, and I couldn't remember exactly what I had picked the first time because I went back and forth between, I think for Cal, I probably just gave him Cal's color. Maybe I shouldn't spoil that, but yeah, it's really hard. I feel like I have an attachment to the original, just green.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I kind of want to pick green, but
Okay.
also like I also want to be unique in some way. So like what if I just picked an entirely different color, like
Right.
I don't know.
What color would that be?
What's a wild color,
I don't know,
you
like
know?
Target red.
What if it just like was green until I hit something and then it was like a mood ring or something.
Oh,
Or
so
it
you
just
knew how mad you were by like when it comes out of the like it's like, oh, that is like sun orange. She's here to mess stuff up. Like, let's go.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like that. I could mess with that. So
We need
VA,
some new technologies. We can't just have one solid color anymore. We
right.
need to step forward.
What if it was a rainbow lightsaber?
I'm down. Some kind
Whoa.
of shimmer. Get it in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I have always been ever since Jedi Knight 2 in multiplayer. I believe you could pick your color, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd never liked the traditional lightsaber colors. I like to go off the beaten path. I don't want to do red. I'm not evil. I don't want to do blue or green. That's always been like, well, that's Luke, and that's not me. For a while, I liked Mace Windu's purple, but actually, my canon lightsaber color for Alex is yellow.
Oh.
Okay.
I always
Okay.
loved the yellow lightsabers. Never knew much about them other than they look cool. There was like you'd see them like off screen kind of, or that there was that one character who rocked one. But after further investigation, of course, there are meanings to the yellow lightsaber. The yellow crystal symbolizes. I think I've got it pulled up in front of me so I don't speak out of my butt, but it's associated with the Sentinels, who are a group that try to seek balance between the Consulars and the Guardians, which I
Hmm.
think is like the two schools, right? And essentially they're like in the middle, and they're like the Force doesn't solve everything, and they're
Interesting.
very practical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I always kind of like being in the middle, and it's the centrist of lightsabers, really, is what I'm trying to get at.
Coward.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I just like yellow. I always thought it was cool, like kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
One of the characters in High Republic has a yellow lightsaber. I think they've gotten a little bit more creative with that, so that's cool. I like that choice.
did
I,
Rey have a yellow lightsaber in the movies?
yeah, I think so.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I
There
think
are
it's a
some things that have wiped from my memory. So
that I've wanted to have wiped from my memory. I think I would go pink because
I
like
like it.
it's I for a couple reasons, right?
Intimidation, number one.
Well, I was gonna say it would throw people off because you got those toxic like aliens out there who are like, oh, look at this pink lightsaber, whatever. So it'd throw them off guard. They would underestimate me, right? And then it would just be done. Chop them up, chop their wings off, the whole thing, right? Um, but it's like I feel like if Mace is my like favorite, right? He's one of the coolest Jedi, especially in the original or like in the original trilogy, or prequel trilogy, excuse me. And he is like this hardened person, right? For the most part, I'm not that. I feel like I'm a much more easygoing person, but still like want to do the right thing and will fight for what I believe in, right? So it's like I feel like on the color scheme too, that's just like one step down from purple. So I think that works out nice. I also would want the dual lightsabers, like Darth Maul had,
Oh,
because that thing
nice.
is just freaking cool.
Like, it looks really cool. I've thought about this. It looks
Yeah.
really cool,
Hmm.
but the chances of hitting yourself
Right.
go up so high. Like, I don't think that
110%.
I could be trusted with a dual lightsaber.
Yeah.
I could dual wield lightsabers,
That
but I
would be
don't
cool
think
too.
yeah.
Yeah. I like the Inquisitors have those things now that like they're dual
They're like
sided and then they
mhm.
spin too. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Also, why did we decide red is just for the evil guys, right? Red's a
Yeah, I don't
cool.
know. It's a cool color.
Santa dresses in red. So it's like, is Santa a Sith? Is Santa a Sith?
Oh
I don't
God.
know. but also the Star Wars anthology anime thing. I can't remember the name of that off the top of my head.
Star Wars
The one,
Legends, right?
yeah, with
Yeah.
the samurai with the red lightsaber. What was his story? I want to know. I want that story so bad. I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, that ripped. That was one of my favorite Star Wars things we've had in a while. So yeah, I think that's a good look at what our kyber crystals would look like.
Now I'm looking up Star Wars: The Old Republic on Steam. Maybe I should play this.
I have been wanting to get into that for a long time. So if now's the time, you just let me know. I will 100% play that with you. Moving on. Do we want to do? Okay. Question for both of you. Do we want to do another or do we want to keep the Star Wars vibes going, or do we want to change it up?
Let's keep Star Wars going.
Okay.
It's a good theme, I think.
What? Let's see. Okay. So this is from Groffles. And Groffles says, share your favorite new trilogy Star Wars scene. Spoilers are allowed. So do we want to do spoilers, or do we want to keep it general?
I mean, it has to be spoilers if we're talking about our favorites, right?
Like, well, from the new, so episodes 7, 8, and 9, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, people in the car, I'm sorry, we're gonna spoil some Star Wars stuff. So if this is your time to get out, this is your time to get out.
Yeah. Take your hands off the wheels. Put fingers in your ears.
Yeah, drive with your. No, I'm not. We can't advise that legally. Yeah. Do you want to kick that off, Jill, or do you?
Yeah,
do you have one off the top of your head?
I actually have some hard ones here because I think some of my favorite scenes of all of Star Wars are in the newer movies, which makes me sad because some of the newer movies are not my favorite Star Wars put together as a whole, but some of the highs are really the highest that I feel in a Star Wars as a Star Wars fan. So, I mean, that moment where Luke sees the two suns and then fades, and you're just like, oh my God. Like, that hit me so hard. Of course, another Luke moment being the moment where Kylo Ren realizes that he's not been fighting. I'm trying kind of to not spoil things, which is weird because we just said spoilers.
We're trying, you know.
He realizes he hasn't been fighting who he thinks he does. And then I think probably number one for me, just for aesthetic value, is the throne room fight. Oh my God, that scene.
I don't really particularly like Last Jedi. That scene is incredible. One of the best lightsaber fights in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would be hard pressed to pick a better one. It is so unbelievably beautiful and like interesting the way that it is put together and choreographed, and interesting in what's happening narratively in that moment, and some callbacks to like past things. And oh, it's so good. I love it.
Yeah, that fight is incredible. I love Rian Johnson. Don't love The Last Jedi. That is what it is. Alex, do you have one, or should I go?
Yeah, unfortunately, like I felt like the new trilogy kind of pushed me away from the Star Wars franchise for many reasons, but I still have a favorite scene, and it's in it's the first or the second one where they're on the desert and Luke is on the ground. They're in the white desert, the white sand that has the red that get the salt flat.
Salt plains, yeah.
That whole sequence of that fight just obviously is supposed to be reminiscent of Hoth. And I think it's just such a sick scene visually, and the drama, you know, the tension as well. Like, you've got like Kylo Ren is so close to his goal inside of the cave, and Luke is the only thing that is buying them time. And I mean, I guess that kind of connects to the scene Jill was talking about. Like, I kind of view that whole thing as like one big sequence, you know, of Luke fighting. And I think the brushing the dust off is a little cheesy, a little corny. They shouldn't have done that. But like, apart from that entire scene, like with like the speeders, I just loved it. It felt like the most Star Wars scene out of that trilogy to me. And yeah, that's my favorite scene.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think from me it's the scene itself, but the emotions with it. So Force Awakens comes out, 2015 at this point? It's been almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, it hasn't.
Wow.
Look it up. When did Force Awakens come out?
It's 2015. You're 100% correct.
Okay, it's 2022. It's been 7 years.
Everyone cut it.
That's
cut it
almost
out.
10.
That's almost 5.
Okay, that's fair. We're closer to 5 than 10.
Closer to 5 than 10.
Okay.
Don't do that to me.
This was when I still believed in the Disney vision of Star Wars. I am like Van Aken, where the trilogy had completely killed my love for the series, unfortunately, until High Republic came out, Jedi Fallen Order, and then Mando. So that's bringing me back, right? But the scene where they're on, it's like one of the closing scenes of Force Awakens, when it is the standoff between Rey, not Poe, but
Kylo Ren and Finn.
Kylo and Finn, and Finn and Kylo meet eye to eye, and Adam Driver, in probably one of his best moments as Kylo Ren, just screams "Traitor!" and like it like shakes the theater almost. Like some of the best acting in that whole series was done in that moment, and just the visual aesthetics of that scene, I think, are fantastic. The contrast of the dimly lit snow forest with the lightsabers going, and this moment of Rey proving that she can do this, right? She can take on someone who values himself as a Sith Lord, right? Was phenomenal. I didn't love that they took that from Finn too. There's a whole thing there, right? We can I'm sure we'd spend a whole podcast discussing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that fight is so good. I think that is another fantastic like duel of the fates, if you will. And just that moment, I still get chills because that too. It's like, I thought that was a great character moment for Kylo, right? Because it shows he is this unhinged version of what we come to know as the Sith, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously a little bit different terminology and whatnot now, but I thought it humanized him a little bit too, and I love that moment. And then things kind of literally from that moment on for me, that the sequel trilogy starts to fall apart. But I'll always remember being in the theater for that moment and just getting like chills down my spine and just like, oh, like so good. So
like, I know this is not a uncommon viewpoint, but I do just want to throw it out there. Adam Driver, so good.
So good. I mean,
I don't know if these movies deserve to have him in them.
Yeah.
But oh my God, did he give so much to it?
He really did. And I think the actors did too, which is why I think you've seen such a hostile, maybe hostile's too strong, but a very visceral, but like upset reaction from a lot of them after leaving this, right? Yeah. Because I do think like Oscar Isaac gave it his all. 100%. Like John Boyega gave it his all.
Like, and that's the thing too. Like I am like you, starting to get rekindled a little bit with things coming out, and with Obi-Wan coming out so soon.
Yeah.
It reminds me so much of how I feel about a lot of the actors in the most recent trilogy, and I so hope that they get similar things, because the prequels, it was so hard to see Ewan McGregor doing him. He's so great in that role, and that role is not great enough for him. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the writing didn't live up.
Yeah. So to be able to see him have his moment as Obi-Wan, and I am so excited. Like, I really hope we get something like that for a lot of the characters in the recent trilogy, because there were so many just amazing performances going on there that were let down by some interesting choices, or perhaps not planned themes and things of that nature. So
yep, things. Yeah, when you spend an entire last part of a movie trying to retcon everything that came before you as the last movie in that series, you're gonna have a bad movie. Anyways, which actually leads us into this is an interesting two-parter. So, Snake Eater 1964 asks us a twofold question. Last question of the show here. It says, now that the Game Press conference season now that the Game Press conference season is almost upon us, what games are you most excited to learn about? And then they say, bonus Star Wars question, what's the worst Star Wars movie? Let's start with the Star Wars question because we're on it right now. Does anyone want to brave these waters here?
What was it again? I'm sorry. It was
Star Wars movie?
What's the worst Star Wars movie?
Like,
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not much question. I don't think anybody's gonna argue another point over that. So I think Last Jedi had some really interesting concepts, and I really wish they'd played out well.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed some of the things that were going on, and obviously there were some phenomenal scenes. So like, besides, I don't really think besides that the Rise of Skywalker, I don't think there are any bad. I'm gonna say this bad
We
Star
love
Wars
it.
movies.
We love the positivity. Let's
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
like there's something there to love for everything, even though some of them have worse some flaws. Like it's all sort of still Star Wars, and that as a Star Wars fan, I just love to see the content and be able to be excited about them. And even if the last trilogy didn't end the way we wanted, like you were talking about that feeling that you had at the beginning of it that you were sharing with everybody, and I was definitely in that camp and just like feeling all of the Star Wars love. And I hope that we can all kind of come back together as a community and be excited again for the fandom, because that was such a special thing to like walk into that first movie and be like, oh, it's Star Wars again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there was they had Carrie back, they had Harrison, they had Mark. Oh, it was a time that I don't know if we're ever going to get back again, just because of internet
I have faith.
cynicism now.
I have absolute faith
there we
that
go.
we're going to get it back.
I was mentally preparing myself for one of you to like take a dump on one of the prequel movies, and I was like getting ready to like crusade one of them, because
I think the prequels are better than the latest trilogy, probably.
I think 100%. I know some people don't feel that way, because I know
I am not on page with you guys on that.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I would argue the last half an hour to 45 minutes of each of the prequel movies are fantastic, like genuine great Star Wars moments. It's just the first parts of those movies are rough, especially Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones, excuse me. Didn't think anything could get worse in my book than Attack of the Clones, and then golly, Miss Molly, Rise of Skywalker came out. So we won't belabor that. It is what it is. I'm sure we'll get enough hate on that. Revenge of the Sith, better than most people think, but that's all I'll say. The first part of that question, though, getting back to games before we say goodbye here. I lost my notes. One sec. Snake Eater asked, now that the Game Press conference season is almost upon us, what game are you guys most excited to learn about? Switching gears from the War of the Stars to the Vigi games now. I guess I can. Go for it, Joe.
I think I don't want to go first, but I think we should just get it off the table that God of War Ragnarok is whatever, like that has to be high on a lot of people's lists. I don't want to like put words in your mouth or anything, but
that is even before Elden Ring, that is my most anticipated game for this year. I'm a huge God of War fan. This may be cheating a little bit, but I think it's relevant here. I am fascinated to see what Microsoft has up its sleeve, right? Because I feel like the end of last year was kind of not really a victory lap, but this like almost coming out party for Microsoft, which is weird because this has been an industry giant for 20 years now. But it was this thing. It's like we had spent like 4 years, 5 years, like lamenting how badly Microsoft is screwing up with the Xbox One, with Scalebound and Fable Legends, right? And it was just this moment of like the vision finally came to, where we had, Forza Horizon, we had Psychonauts 2, we had Halo, right? And this beautiful like moment of like, oh, Xbox finally has games again, like, and that's exciting. And now we don't know almost anything. Like we know they're working on. We know Bethesda's obviously has Starfield, right? But like we know Avowed is being worked on. We think Rare is still working on Everwild. Like there's some questions there, but it's like outside of Starfield, which has that 11/11 date, we know next to nothing about what this year looks like for and beyond looks like for Microsoft. And it's like, all right, we got Halo, right? Life is good. I need some Gears in my life, right? Like, where's Gears 6? We know it's going to be Unreal Engine 5. So it's like, when is that coming? Obviously, people are hyped about Fable. Like,
that's the big one for me.
Fable is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, like, I don't know if that's ever going to, like, I am afraid to be excited for it. Because we barely got any, like, we got the big, like, oh, it's happening, fun little trailer, and then like it just disappeared. Like, I've heard nothing.
Right.
So it could be really cool if it reemerged this little E3 season. But I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be like, and it's out this fall or whatever, or it's like, actually, we're still working on it. Don't look. And then it rightly gets canceled,
Yeah. Oh, I don't think. Oh, people would be up in arms.
I would be so sad.
I would cry if Fable's not coming. Especially with the development. Yeah, it would be very sad. I think this is the year. I think we finally see either another cinematic trailer. I feel like gameplay would be appropriate, right? Because like the studio started working on it. The rumblings were, I think, 2017 when it's not Turn 10 who was working on it. What's the Forza team?
Playground.
I think it was like 2017 when it was announced or rumored that they were starting to work on that game. So it's been a minute now. Because like unless Microsoft is just like Game Pass and Starfield will carry us through the winter. It's entirely possible, right? But I feel like there's stuff out there. There's pieces out there that it would be so nice to have actual release dates on, because we know hopefully we're going to get more Halo single player, right? Like, they're going to keep supporting that, right? But like, I really want to hear something from Gears. I feel like we've come finally through this, like, even when Xbox was kind of floundering a little bit here and there, we still had this like beautiful slate of indies with like Cuphead, Ori, Sable, Artful Escape. Like, I feel like we had this huge slate of them that are kind of out now, right? Which is great because a lot of Tunic, right? A lot of them have been wonderful. So now I'm curious to see, Replaced, I think, is that one that is like is very cyberpunky that made a splash last year. Planet of Lana, like there's a bunch of indies that could fill those gaps, and I'm excited to see what like ID at Xbox has up their sleeve in that way. So I think Microsoft is my most anticipated because we kind of know what Sony is at least going towards, right? With God of War, we know that Nintendo has Breath of the Wild in store, right? And not to discount Starfield too. Like, Starfield could be amazing, right? But I want to see what else they have hiding under the surface. So that's me personally.
I'm gonna throw a little bomb in there and then run away again. What do you guys think about Silksong? You think that's showing up?
I mean, for the sake of my my fantasy game draft I have with my friends, yeah. Yeah, it's coming. And it's releasing this year.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise I lose.
Like, the weird thing for me is I played that game.
Really?
Yeah, back in, it must have been 2017, 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. Like, it was at E3, and I played it on the E3 floor. Like, I am so shocked that we are where we are right now. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a weird, like, Nintendo makes weird Nintendo decisions thing. Maybe it's a Team Jerry thing. Like, I have not. It's another one that I'm just like, I'm boggled about where this is right now.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear the story behind what. I mean, like, COVID has to have something to do with it, right? But like, or maybe it was like a scaling thing. Who knows? But it's
Who
gonna
knows?
be fascinating. Ooh, excuse me, I almost burped. It's gonna be fascinating when that comes out. VA, do you have a most anticipated to hear about?
I'm with you on Xbox. I think that's honestly like just show me Redfall. That's what I want to see.
I
Yeah,
forgot about
Redfall is
Redfall.
interesting. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
supposed to
Bethesda's
come out this
working
summer, right?
something.
Yeah,
It's supposed
I've
to
been
be.
skeptical about that though.
Right.
Like we
It's
still
not.
haven't seen gameplay, but I mean it's in the hands of what Arcane Austin, right? Obviously big Arcane fan here, so I'm very eager to see what an immersive sim looks like in a 4-player co-op setting, and how those inspirations kind of affect that sort of design. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Like they've
Joe,
got Indiana Jones game under their
right?
umbrella that we've heard vaguely about but never seen.
Yeah,
Like the Elder Scrolls is still not something they've talked about, and that's supposed to come after Starfield, obviously. But maybe they start talking about it. Like Bethesda's got a lot that it's sort of cooking on. So that's going to be a really exciting show.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I
you know,
cannot wait.
Nintendo's always a wild card because you don't know what they're going to do and what their plans are. So we'll see what happens.
Right, because Nintendo actually has probably the most concrete lineup that we know about the rest of the year because they have Xenoblade 3 in July, we have Mario Strikers in June, August is Splatoon, and then Pokemon Scarlet is November, right? We know Breath of the Wild isn't till next year, but also we didn't know about Metroid Dread until summer last year, and it came out in October. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
what do they have up their sleeve that's going to fill that void? You know, I don't know. I'm very excited to find out. We also know that what's the strategy game that they have done but have delayed? Advance Wars. Advance Wars is sitting there too, and they delayed it because of the Ukrainian Russia conflict, understandably so. But so like that's coming out too. But yeah, it's like, what else are y'all scheming on over there? The last thing I'll add too is like Last of Us factions. I think I've talked about it every single time that we've gotten to this point in the year in my 3 years here. But like, what is it? Like, show me what you're working on here, because Last of Us factions, the first version of it, right, was fantastic, very underrated multiplayer experience. And I think it sounds like they're building talent, multiplayer talent to finish this type of game, but it's been years now, and I want to know what this is. So that would be one that I would lose my little mind over. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm also interested to see who jumps in on, like, just outside of video games in particular, but like the business. I'm interested to see who jumps in to start being the sort of, like we were talking about Embracer Group earlier, like who's jumping in to be the big people to watch. You know, you've always got PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, but who's going to be the other like contenders now stepping up to the plate? I'm
yeah,
always excited to look at some of the indie games that are coming out, and especially indie games that I didn't have on my radar before. So that's always fun. We also like Xbox does have a lot, and I'm just rolling through like everything, and like Senua Saga has had
right.
a very long time being announced, and maybe we'll get that soon, some information on that hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, there is a ton, and we're probably going to break it down more as we get closer to E3 season. But um yeah,
100%.
I'm just really excited. I think if we're sticking to the actual question of like what's your number one, yeah, I think I'm going God of War on that one.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think we can do this quick answer here? Do
Yep.
you think for Microsoft,
Yep.
if this year is Starfield, Senua's or Hellblade 2, and like another big Game Pass, another big couple of Game Pass games, is that it? Like, is that enough? Or and maybe like Halo single player content, right? Because we know we're gonna get something closer to the end of the year with season 3 with Forge and co-op and stuff like that. Is that enough, or do you think they need to do more to win the year?
I think that's tough. I think they could. if those are the only concrete things, just as long as they bring out more detail about all these other things, because they have so many projects. I think getting people excited about 2023 will be enough to win E3 season, you know.
Yeah.
Because yes, PlayStation and Sony are so dialed into their particular big IPs that are great, and they're always exciting to get, and they're always exciting to play and to hear about. But it's like it is sort of a known quantity, whereas a lot of this Xbox stuff is sort of new IP or like new studios working on old IPs that were unexpected. So I think just that added factor of being unexpected. But of course, Nintendo could always pull it out and like come out with all these wild things too. So
Right.
I think
And
Xbox could do it. Could do it.
okay. All right. VA, how are you?
I think so. I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Redfall's gonna carry it all, baby.
Redfall. I mean, yeah. Well, because Redfall could slip too, because originally they announced it for summer 2022. I don't think there's a shot in hell that happens, but maybe
could be
it's
fall, though.
It's Redfall. And if Starfield, because that's the thing, I think a lot of people are down on Bethesda right now. If
I'm
Starfield
so-
can
Starfield's
deliver,
my most anticipated game now for the
okay,
rest of the year.
yeah, I think the potential's there to be a huge moment that Bethesda, I would argue, needs. Bethesda Game Studios, right?
Mhm.
The other pieces of Bethesda are doing great work right now, but it's like Bethesda Game Studios needs a win, and I think this could. We'll
Right.
see what it looks like. So, you know, I think we all need a win, and I hope this podcast was one of them for you. This has been another fun episode 602 of the Game Informer Show. It's a lot. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means a lot to us. Your reviews mean a ton. Like, it just helps us a lot, and we appreciate anyone who's put the time in, whether it's 3-star review or 5-star review or your subscription. So thank you for all that. We got some fun stuff coming up on the show the next couple of weeks. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're getting back to the Halo series review, which I've heard is getting good now. All of a sudden, Alex, you better catch up. But outside of that, we have some more fun planned as we're ramping up into announcement season. So thank you. Be good to one another, and we will see you next time. Boop.